Welcome to Shenzhen Metro, but more importantly, welcome to the future.
China built the largest train station in the world in just 38 months. And it's so large you can fit 6 Grand Central stations within it.
This railway station is larger than every single airport terminal in the US.
366,000 tons of steel, over 70 million cubic feet of concrete, and $7.8 billion in investment. This mega project is on another level entirely. To build it, China had to carve away entire mountain slopes. But to understand why this railway station is so significant, we need to first take a close look at the unique city in which it is built. The powerhouse city. Chongqing is a city unlike any other. Its geography, status, and operation make it one of a kind. With a population of 30 million people, the municipality of Chongqing is the largest city proper in the world. It encompasses a landmass roughly the size of Austria and is considered one of the national central cities, a classification reserved for urban centers like Shanghai and Beijing. Being more than 3,000 years old, the city has a deep history and traditional significance. It has seen the rise and falls of ancient empires, survived through the imperial era, the Chinese Civil War, and even served as the wartime capital of the Republic of China during the Second Sino-Japanese War. But more importantly than its historical significance is its economy. Chongqing is the 6th largest city economy and the 3rd largest municipal economy in the nation, with a GDP exceeding $440 billion annually. This makes it one of the most economically significant cities in not just China, but also the entire world. However, despite boasting such economic significance, the rail network that connected Chongqing with the other urban hubs across China remained, for a long time, underdeveloped. This fatal weakness meant that despite modernization, the city was lagging behind. The 3 existing stations, Chongqing, Chongqing North, and Chongqing West, were not able to keep up with the sheer economic scale and population. The supply lines connecting the region with major coastal urban centers were far too slow for the modern era, preventing international trade routes from being fully utilized. Soon, the officials realized that if nothing was done, Chongqing would stagnate. The only fix? A 4th train station accommodates high-speed rail systems on a massive scale. But the officials didn't just want to build a train station, they wanted to kickstart a new phase in the region's development that would expand far beyond the idea of a single transportation hub. And this idea was present long before the first brick was ever laid for the project. Planning an architectural marvel. The idea of building a 4th station for Chongqing was put forth officially in 2015. However, the proposal included much more than just a railway station. It included the blueprints for a mega construction undertaking that would see the rise of an entirely new city district. You see, the officials weren't just planning on improving Chongqing's transportation infrastructure. They were using it to kickstart a whole new development phase. How? Well, Chinese officials and researchers had long considered a city design method dubbed the station city integration. They reasoned that having the high-speed railway stations on the edge of the cities was counterproductive. These rail lines that act as the arteries of the nation, carrying people and cargo, shouldn't be located in an isolated point on the map. Rather, they should be woven into the city's design itself. This way, all the critical components that make the wheels of industry turn can be moved much more efficiently across the city. They also proposed that this will help make travel for the public much more efficient. Instead of having the railway infrastructure bend to accommodate the city around it, the proposal would turn the tables. The Chongqing East Railway Station was going to be the pilot project for this new idea. Officials had put forth a development plan for an entirely new city district spanning 1.33 square miles with the Chongqing East Railway Station as its beating heart. Every building in this new district was planned in such a way that the lines going to and from the station could operate as efficiently as possible. Plus, every aspect of the new district was refined to ensure interconnectivity. Metro connections were strategically planned to allow people to have easy access from anywhere in the district. The scale of the project was beyond imagination. Anywhere else in the world, it would have taken years, even decades, to get approval. China, on the other hand, likes to do things fast. Feasibility studies were conducted, and soon after, engineers began mapping out the ideal location for the project. The place chosen for the Chongqing East Railway Station was Changshengqiao Town. The plans were approved, and an investment of nearly $8 billion was provided. Finally, the work could begin. Groundbreaking. Right from the start, it was clear that this project was not going to be easy. The first problem was the sheer scale of it all. The construction area in total was going to be nearly half a square mile. That's a bit over 170 football fields. But the bigger issue was the geography of the region. Chongqing is a city built within river gorges, mountains, and valleys, and that has historically led to some of the strangest infrastructure ever seen. The city has many levels to it, with buildings opening into various streets on different floors, a monorail going through residential buildings, and a confusing infrastructure that even locals can get lost in. Much like the city, the place chosen to build the Chongqing East Railway Station wasn't exactly flat. It was a rugged hillside with extreme variation in height. Experts couldn't just lay a foundation and start building. First, they had to create the flat land needed, all 170 football fields worth of it. The process was grueling and dangerous. Earthwork cutting machines had to be brought in to slice apart the land and make it even. Excavators worked day and night, helping transport the dug-up soil away on dump trucks. A whole army of heavy machines operated tirelessly to change the literal geography. And it wasn't just a dig-and-be-done kind of project. The region is built up of rocky terrain, so specialized machines had to be brought in to dig through those tougher sections of the site. The work continued at a consistent pace, and eventually the entire area was made flat. But it still wasn't ready for the construction process. Chongqing experiences a lot of rainfall, and when you combine rainfall with mountains, you get landslides. These unpredictable waves of earth moving like water can be extremely deadly, especially when you are messing with the geological features of a region. Experts have to ensure that this won't be a problem for the project at any point. So containment systems were built around the site that acted as barriers, preventing rocks and soil from spilling into or near the project zone. Additionally, a whole drainage system was devised to redirect rainwater from the mountain slopes away. At last, the site was prepared and construction could begin. Before creating the gigantic structure above, engineers first had to create a solid foundation. Boring machines were used to dig deep holes into the ground, and then piles were driven into these holes, passing through the softer soil and wedging deeply within the more stable bedrock deep underneath the surface. As the network of piles was being laid down, the first concrete floor for the foundation was also being laid. Concrete pumps worked in conjunction to ensure a continuous pour to prevent cracks that could jeopardize the durability of the structure later on. Rain was a constant threat during the concrete pouring phase. Engineers carefully observed the weather forecast to ensure rain wouldn't ruin a pour, which would have resulted in serious setbacks for the project. But at the same time, another threat was also ever present. The third furnace. In China, there are 3 cities famous for being among the hottest, most humid places in the nation. Quite aptly called the 3 furnaces, the list includes Wuhan, Nanjing, and of course Chongqing. Chongqing experiences very long summers with extreme temperatures reaching 93 Fahrenheit. For a construction project like the Chongqing East Railway Station, this is a huge hurdle. The main problem comes from how such hot temperatures affect concrete. The heat causes the water to evaporate very quickly, and if it evaporates before the concrete properly settles and cures, the whole pour gets ruined. Engineers had their work cut out for them. While a problem like this is usually resolved by pouring the concrete at night when the temperatures are cooler, that proved to be ineffective for larger pours, which took significantly longer to cure. Thankfully, technology came to the rescue. An expensive but effective way of keeping the concrete cold even during scorching summers was to use cooling pipes. These pipes are placed within the concrete as it is being poured. Then, a coolant is run through the pipes, which reduces the temperature significantly. This technique was used extensively during larger pours while constructing the Chongqing East Railway Station. But heat doesn't just affect concrete. It also affects the human workers working on the project. During the summer, workers mostly had to work night shifts to avoid the scorching heat from the sun. They were closely monitored to ensure their health and safety. At the same time, there were emergency protocols in place to ensure dehydration or overheating could be addressed if it occurred. Still, work had to be suspended during extreme heat waves. But despite the setbacks, the foundation was finally laid out completely, and it was time for the main structure to rise. The main building. The main building of the Chongqing East Railway Station began to take shape with the first columns rising and initial structures being built. In total, the station was designed to have 8 floors in total. About half of these would be underground, acting as the main infrastructural support. These underground levels were the first to be constructed. They featured reinforced concrete framing to provide stability and support for the upper levels. These upper levels were made to be lighter, featuring a steel tube truss infrastructure. As each level rose, the building began taking shape. The construction wasn't bottom to top, however, as it normally is for most mega projects. By creating a strong infrastructural skeleton, experts were able to ensure that the work could continue on both the above-ground and the below-ground sections simultaneously. This was done to cut down on the construction time significantly. But this wasn't the only measure being taken to speed up the project. While the foundations were being laid and the main building was being constructed, miles away from the construction site, deep within the ground, giant TBMs were busy carving through solid rock to create tunnels for the metro lines that would be connected with the station. Not one, but multiple TBMs had been deployed to carve out tunnels for each of the major lines planned for the project. Most experts would have called this madness due to the sheer complexity this would introduce to the project that was already grand as it is. And the reason behind that is quite simple. To have tunnels being bored at the same time as the station's construction means that there is very little room for error. You are basically setting the routes of the tunnels, their entrances and exits into the stations, and the infrastructural elements involved in the stone. Tunnel alignment could be a nightmare if anything went wrong. Nothing can be adjusted on the fly, at least not without major project setbacks and high costs. Any error would mean a large section of the already constructed structure would have to be broken down and remade. But somehow, the Chinese engineers pulled it off without a hitch. With other bureaucratic beginnings holding down progress, contractors and the officials in charge of the various aspects of the project were able to effectively communicate and make adjustments to ensure everything aligned perfectly. Through seamless cooperation, the station and the tunnels neared completion almost simultaneously. But while that is a management achievement unlike any other, it wasn't just the humans speeding up the construction process while building the Chongqing East Railway Station. There was an unexpected companion aiding them. An army of robots. While the Chongqing East Railway Station was under construction, it became a proving ground for a technology China has been a proponent of for decades, and that is the use of robots in the construction industry. China has invested heavily in this emerging tech. They have built autonomous robots that complete many of the basic and complex tasks at construction sites. There are concrete smoothing robots, tile-laying robots, glass installation robots, and even welding robots being deployed in droves to operate in major mega projects across the nation. And the Chongqing East Railway Station was one such project where this technology was heavily utilized. But why? Well, there are a lot of benefits to having robot workers. They don't get tired, don't need rest, and they almost never make any mistakes if used correctly. Take the extreme summer problem we talked about earlier. While human workers at the Chongqing East Railway Station had to suspend work during daylight hours, these robots worked tirelessly to keep the construction going. Not only that, but these robots undertake some of the more dangerous tasks at a construction site completely, helping prevent putting humans in harm's way, such as working at heights or in confined places. But it's not like these robots are replacing the human workforce. Rather, Chinese mega-projects, including the Chongqing East Railway Station, cooperate on a hybrid model. Human engineers direct the robots, who in turn get the most grueling and dangerous tasks done. This frees up the human workforce for more complex and safer tasks for the project. According to officials, the use of robots was revolutionary. Accident rates dropped by 90%, while the work efficiency tripled compared to a fully human workforce. With the combined efforts of the humans and the robots, the construction of the Chongqing East Railway Station proceeded at a very fast rate. With the basic structure of the main building finished, the project was nearing the last leg of its completion. The skeleton of the structure was completely finished, and the last piece of the puzzle was the gigantic roof that would cover the entire station. The toughest stretch. Before the roof could be installed, the engineers first needed to install support columns for it. But instead of going for generic pillars, they created a beautifully designed marvel instead. The columns were made to look like trees, with branches extending from the main column, spreading out to support the roof that would go over it. Additionally, scale-like patterns were installed over the pillars to give them a unique look, tying the graphical representation of the station to its natural roots. Soon, the components of the roof began arriving on the site. Now, normally these segments are assembled after being put in place above the support columns one by one. But in the case of the Chongqing East Railway Station, that was not remotely possible. The roof of the station weighed a staggering 16,500 tons in total. Handling such extreme weights at heights would have ended up being very dangerous. So instead, engineers opted for a different approach. The roof components were connected in large sections of the ground. Then these large sections were lifted up to the support columns, where the entire thing was put together one by one, like Lego pieces being placed, only on a way larger scale. To lift these segments, powerful hydraulic jack systems were used, working in conjunction to lift each segment one by one. Cohesion was key in the process. Even if one of the hydraulic jacks was not operating in sync, it could have caused the entire segment to come crashing down, putting everyone's life in jeopardy and potentially causing millions of dollars in damage. To minimize danger, a lot of the work on the roof was done by robots. Glass window and skylight installation, welding, and monitoring were done by robots to make the roof installation process not only faster, but also safer. Segment by segment, one by one, the gigantic roof was assembled completely, at last completing the main infrastructure. Meanwhile, the TBMs that had been working day and night, carving through the mountains to build the tunnels, were also reaching the station one after another. All the major components of the ambitious project neared completion, but there was still so much more to be done. While the body was completed, without its organs, it would just be an empty shell. The last touches. With the roof almost finished, work began on installing the interior of the building. Electrical, HVAC, and mechanical systems were installed by teams of workers. While that is all standard, other more unique technology was also incorporated. Gate systems were installed with facial recognition capabilities, allowing for better passenger flow management and threat identification. This real-time data would allow the management to better identify any inefficiencies in the layout of the station so it can be improved. Meanwhile, the surrounding infrastructure, like roads and highways leading to and from the station, was also built in preparation for the opening and normal operations of the station. One of the engineering accomplishments that stands out about the Chongqing East Railway Station is its environmentally friendly design and features. The building is a 3-star Green Standard approved, which is the highest rating a building can have in China. This means that it is extremely sustainable in all aspects. Solar panels are built into the roof and surrounding infrastructure of the building. It has a rainwater collection system that allows the rainwater to be reused within the building. The skylights across the structure are designed for energy saving. The cooling system utilized for the station is also rather unique. The Chongqing East Railway Station uses a shared infrastructure with a centralized energy supply system that provides shared cooling for a large number of buildings in the region. This further helps minimize the carbon footprint of the building. But what about looks? The Chongqing East Railway Station is more of a piece of art than simply a structure. The architects wanted the main building to be a homage to everything that Chongqing is and has been through its vast history. It is a physical representation of Chongqing as a whole. The mountainous backdrop serves as a gorgeous contrast to the modernistic and futuristic look of the structure. Within the station, the natural inspiration that the architects borrowed from is clear. The water drop-shaped skylights create an illusion of being underwater. The tree-shaped pillars, inspired by ginkgo and huangjue trees holding up the roof, tell a powerful story, showing the transition from nature to modern architecture. Most significant of all, the interior is provided with a magnificent view of the natural beauty surrounding the station, thanks to giant glass windows. And the architecture isn't just about beauty either. It is also extremely practical. The station is essentially divided into 2 segments vertically. The underground levels are designed around the urban transport requirements of the district. These floors encompass the metro connections of the city. It is where the metro lines, buses, taxis, and private pickup sites are located. The upper portions, of the other hand, are designed for the national railway lines. This is where the high-speed rail lines are received and depart from. This separation is crucial to the function of the Chongqing East Railway Station. It creates a seamless connection between domestic and national transport, while at the same time keeping the two separated enough to prevent congestion. The opening and impact. Despite all the hurdles, extreme challenges, and the massive scale of the project, it took China only 38 months to build the Chongqing East Railway Station. And once the station was open to the public, its deep impact was immediately felt. An average of over 43,000 passengers journeyed through every single day. These were job-goers, businessmen, and the general public out and about boosting the nation's economy. On top of that, the new station attracted the attention of tourists from around the globe, becoming a must-see location in no time. And these impacts are only from a few of the planned railway lines opening up. The officials intend for 7 high-speed railway lines to converge at the Chongqing East Railway Station. Most of these are already under construction, with TBMs already deployed, and the work is in progress. Once these lines open up, these numbers are only going to grow, and the impact of this level of connectivity will be insane. The travel time from Chongqing East to other major urban hubs will be significantly reduced. For instance, Chengdu will only be an hour away, Wuhan 3 hours away, and Beijing and Shanghai just 6 hours away. People can now find jobs in other cities, get access to better public services, and industry can bloom with faster transfer speeds for products and raw materials. The most important of all these links will be between Chongqing and Chengdu, which can function as a unified economic zone accounting for a large portion of China's overall economy. Not only that, but the more historically isolated regions that these lines will pass through We'll also see more development as they become important crossing points for these booming economies. The Chongqing East Railway Station is a masterstroke project with which China has improved the potential of its most promising urban centers. That does it for today. If you enjoyed watching, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.